are in the middle of the game and combat music suddenly starts while you're exploring? What? Welcome, I'm Anna, a composer from Frankfurt, Germany. Today we're talking about 3 mistakes in music design that can easily be avoided. First, unintended silence for no reason in the middle of the game. 2. Confusing the player with audio that doesn't fit. 3. Using the wrong genre. I would like to give you a brief insight into these big topics. Questions that come up today can be answered in a future video. Just leave me a comment. Thumbs up if you like the video and let's get started! Just like being on a date, one thing you need to avoid is unintended silence. What is happening in the background while we are playing the game in which music sounds? The engine constantly checks the parameters you set beforehand, and the result is the scene we see. The player now enters a new area and triggers an event such as a dialogue. So the gameplay freezes, and on the musical level the music can change, fade out, or a sound effect can be applied. Of course, as you know, these triggers must be worked out in detail beforehand so that no errors creep in. While you do this as part of developing the game, musicians need the same plan. This plan is also part of the music design in games. In one sentence, the music design determines when music is playing and the conditions under which the music changes in the game. If this plan is developed from the beginning alongside your game design, you'll save a lot of work afterwards. Because next to your technical map, with its many branches, the musical map will look similarly complex. Trying to crowbar in the music after the fact will be like trying to squeeze the tent back in its original bag. Very frustrating and difficult. Let's have a look at the following situation in the game. The player passes the blue house, character A walks up to him and speaks to him. On the musical level, the player meets character A, but hears a melody slightly before and therefore knows that there is no threat from character A. Unless, of course, that melody is the theme from Hitchcock's Psycho. But in that case, music can clearly take over the role of storytelling if necessary. Basically, both sides need more or less the same information, and parallel development will avoid mistakes. This is only one of many reasons, according to Adam Sporker and Olivier Dudevier, why you should think about music design right at the beginning of the game design. More on this in a later video. At this point, a shout out to Ray for adding some valuable input to my text. Ray is a great sound designer and composer you will definitely hear from. Another mistake you want to avoid is confusing the player with audio that doesn't fit. For example, combat music plays even though you are in the middle of exploring. Of course, playing the right music is part of constructing the musical map, but I keep mentioning it here because you should be aware of the power that properly chosen and well-composed music can have on the game. The key word is immersion. So, music can lift the overall artwork of the game or create complete chaos if you wanted to. Imagine having joyful music at a funeral or the soundtrack of Darth Vader at a wedding while bride or groom are walking down the aisle. And that leads us to the last and most important mistake we want to avoid: wrong genre. Why one genre works and the other doesn't has different reasons. They may have to do with our listening expectations and experience. We develop both from an early age, and both are an unconscious process and psychologically based. It depends on where we grew up, what music we came in contact with, and so on. For example, if you never listened to classical music in your childhood, it will be hard to understand the beauty of it later. There are studies that show that in this case you still have a window of opportunity in your 30s to find pleasure in classical music. If you miss this window, it is very likely that you will not enjoy classical music for the rest of your life. And this is absolutely tragic, also for the music that less and less people listen to. To summarize, you have not only established listening expectations over time, but also your taste in music. And we feel a genre is right when the music matches the images. The fit has to do, among other things, with those two processes, listening expectations and experience, But of course, other, more objective criteria also play a role, such as form or development of music and images. I'll be happy to explain more on this in a later video. For the rest of the video, let's agree that certain expectations are attached to a genre. For example, battle music sounds like this, and wedding music sounds like that. Juxtaposing an unexpected music genre against the rest of the game's design can have a powerful effect if done well. Think of Yappy Psycho, a horror game. But it carries a big risk of not coming across as intended and confusing players. Imagine turning up to a house rave in a tuxedo. The effect is the same. People at the party as players will think twice about your choices. Why does this music sound so different? Even come up with wild theories and try to resolve this discrepancy according to Adam Swarka. But that in turn has a lot of potential if we want to use that. We can also intentionally create certain clues musically, which can then be figured out by hardcore fans at some point. Of course, you should positively surprise players, and this doesn't mean your stylistical choice need to be on the nose 100% of the time. As the Joker pointed out, sometimes you need to introduce a little anarchy. And this is all about that. Otherwise, you would have the lowest common denominator of a broad mass, that part on which everyone agrees. Yeah, it will work, probably be super boring and quickly forgotten. I call this a remake of a remake of a remake. Think of Pirates of the Caribbean, released in 2003, cool and new at that time, and it's still being recycled today. While you remember the original soundtrack, you have already forgotten all the musical imitations. Meanwhile, Hans Zimmer has evolved and set new standards during these 20 years. What would his composition sound like if the movie didn't come out until next year? So, why are we hiding behind old ideas? Here is what I mean with a remake of a remake of a remake. There are currently universal rules about how trailer music, battle music, or any music in games or movies should sound. Either you follow those rules one by one, or you try to create something innovative, something new. I think it's a balancing act between listening expectations and innovation. Play with these expectations, be brave and try things out. No genius ever got anywhere without experimenting. I mean, look at what Einstein did with his hair. The music that you find awesome definitely stands out from other music. And it's exactly this being different, this standing out, that should be our claim. Game development and music design have similar scripts that should be developed simultaneously. This prevents triggers from going nowhere or being assigned poorly and saves a lot of work afterwards. Be aware of the huge impact of music because it can be more than just background noise and can provide players with concrete information such as danger, no danger. Music can also have an even more profound effect on a psychological level, enhancing immersion. Stay curious and experimental when it comes to genre choice. Be aware that an unusual choice will trigger questions. But you also have the opportunity to create something great if you skillfully balance listening expectations with innovation. That's it already. The next episode will be a bit more detailed about misconceptions. Follow my channel if you don't want to miss anything. Take care and tune in next time.